lipids being made in the process of eating the soybean diet, if they are still present in your tissues, in your fat tissue, in your liver tissue, and you can't get rid of them just by switching to another diet. So those are some of the things we're looking at now. But yeah, with intermittent fasting, you can actually lose the body weight.
I see. So you've got some results that sound like they're not published yet where soybean oil induces obesity. You then take them on a low-fat diet, I would assume, with intermittent fasting, and then they can lose more weight than simply removing the soybean oil diet on its own. Got it. And so when you say intermittent fasting, you basically just mean time-restricted feeding on a daily basis.
Well, yeah. And so there's the way we do it is because we don't have any of the fancy, expensive instruments, is that we take the food away from the mice for one day and give it back to them the next day.
Got it.
The next day, because then a person just goes into the vivarium once a day and switches, right? But in humans, that's not really realistic. And this is just anecdotally what I hear from other people, is that if you try to just go for at least 12 or maybe 16, if you can get up to 16 hours without eating, that's really, really good. And that gets back to more what people have seen in all sorts of these seasonal diets and human diets of we're not supposed to be eating all the time, right? And we're supposed to be when it's dark, we're not out there foraging for food, we're not eating. Of course, that's not what we have in modern societies. We're constantly eating.
So sort of bird's eye view here, based on everything that you've done and you know from the literature in animals, and based on everything that we know about the human side of this, what's the bottom line here in terms of obesity and fatty liver? Are soybean oil and high linoleic acid oils obesogenic, and do they cause fatty liver in animals? And is that also likely to be true for humans as well? What would you say?
I would say yes. We've not done any experiments in humans. And I don't know if anyone has looked at fatty liver in humans on a soybean oil diet. What I do know, and this is where things get really, really complicated, is back in 1957, a researcher by the name of Ansel Keys did a landmark study where it was from one of these large human trials of maybe 10,000 nurses and doctors over many years. And they found that people eating that had a lot of animal fat in their diet, be it just steak or hamburgers or cheese or milk or stuff like that, they had increased risk for cardiovascular disease. So this is 1957. And then there were some initial studies in 1960 sort of supporting that, et cetera. And so it was from this. And so we knew at the time that animal fat was saturated fat, plant fat was unsaturated fat. And that's about all we knew. We didn't know about omega-3s and omega-6s and everything. And when we found when we had our first results with soybean oil, it's like, well, how did the medical community miss all this, right? And it's fascinating. There were a few papers at the beginning looking at soybean oil in mice and seeing what it was doing as a counter to the animal fat, but not a whole lot. And the assumption was sort of made is that if saturated fats are bad for you, polyunsaturated fats are good for you. It's just a basic assumption without it ever really being tested, and completely ignoring the fact that not all unsaturated fats are the same. As you said at the very beginning, there's polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, and there's different types of And it's like, whoa, people just went down this path and they just never turned around.